So, Brian, did you hear about the new pirate movie that's coming out?
This sounds like a joke. No, Rick, I did not.
It's rated R.
We're doing that.
Pirates, air, and more. Friends from work. Let's chat.
Everybody, come on, let's get down. Get down.
Thank you, Freak Base, for the music. Friends from work. Let's
Yes,
chat.
sir.
Rick Shue, Brian Chatlin, Courtney Cheek's not with us today.
He's with us in spirit.
She's with us in spirit. She's out being a famous actress somewhere. And we had a guest, Aaron Viola from Fanboy Garage. She flaked on me today. I'm going to call him out on this. Viola. Anyway.
Love him anyways. We love him anyways.
We do, and I'm kidding. So anyhow, welcome to the show, guys. This is streaming live on our YouTube channel. We will have this edited and up as a podcast version tomorrow, which will be April 1st, and that is not an April Fool's joke. Brian, tomorrow's April Fool's Day.
It is.
I hate April Fool's Day. It sucks.
You can't trust a bloody thing. You get a call from your agent and say, "Oh, you're booked on it. Don't do that to me. Don't." So far, it hasn't happened, but yeah, you can't trust anything you receive on
anybody. April Fool's, it's relentless.
My God, I'm pregnant. Really? You are?
Oh, wow. You
Tell
went
me
there.
tomorrow.
You went there.
I'll believe you.
That's the woes of a man not married, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, moving on from that. Okay, Brian. So we got a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk about the Mandalorian season 3, episode 5. That gets really a tongue twister for me. It's season 3, episode 5. Episode 5 is also Empire Strikes Back, and we go all over the place with the numerics. But I want to start the show off real quick. I went to our first official press screening. I've done a million of these in the past, but with our outlet.
Under our umbrella. I love
under
that.
our umbrella. It felt good. It was cool. I went and checked in.
Man. On our way up.
Rick Shue +1 friends from work. And the lady stopped me at the end. She goes, because it was one of those screenings where there was a section for press, and then they probably did like a radio giveaway or something like that. Yeah. And so it was a relatively packed theater, because these things can go either way. Sometimes it's a very intimate setting. Typically, those are ones that are during the day, like the 10 a.m., 11 a.m. Like when you and I saw.
Well, those are also usually the ones still on embargo. Like they really got to limit who's watching.
Oh, absolutely. Remember when you and I saw Infinity War?
Endgame,
or Endgame. It was Endgame we saw. That's right. We were in Dallas at that Mockingbird Angelica.
With like a week or two early, we got to sit there and sit on our hands for almost 2 weeks.
So that film, The Last Jedi, and what's the second Tom Holland Spider-Man called with Mysterio? That's Far From Home.
Far From Home. Thank you. Yeah, they're all home based.
Yeah. I get confused on the names. That one, I saw all of those films super early. I mean, I felt like Marvel or Disney, I guess I should say, Marvel, Lucasfilm had drones over my house watching me. But anyway, I saw Air last night, and do you have any interest in seeing this film?
Not a giant. The trailers didn't look super exciting. What'd you think?
I loved it.
Yeah,
I loved it. It's a really great feel-good sports film.
Well, so do the for the people that haven't heard of Air, what is 2-second or 2-sentence synopsis?
Well, the subtitle of it, I guess you could call it, "Courting a Legend," is
very broad.
It's very broad, but it at least hones in a little bit on courting, basketball, whatever. So it's about Air Jordan, the shoe. It's about a certain group of individuals, one in particular, Sonny, played by Matt Damon, who were really leading the charge and having because at the time, and the setting of this movie is 1984, which, by the way, I think back on Wonder Woman 84, the Motley Crue Netflix film, variety of different movies that have come out in the last 4 to 5 years that were set in the 80s. I have not seen a film
are so bad at a 2-sentence synopsis. You didn't finish the sentences.
I'm saying I have not seen a film that did this great of a job setting with the aesthetic of the 80s.
Got it. Okay.
So I didn't have to say it and say it twice. So
right.
Just bear with me.
I got you.
It all comes around. It all comes around. But that part of the film was so well done. I mean, I felt like at times that I was in 4th or 5th grade again. So there's that part of it, but it's just really well made. Like it's directed by Ben Affleck, who's a powerhouse director. Chris Tucker gives a career-defining performance in my view. Like, I didn't even think about it being him at all. I mean, he's got kind of a shtick down, obviously, and he's very funny, but he is outstanding in this movie. And Matt Damon probably gives his best performance in many years.
Wow.
I think
he's turned in some amazing performances.
He has.
Okay, so let me pause for a second. The synopsis, for those who don't know, this is the story of Nike shoe company basically creating a brand new shoe and then picking up an unknown basketball player to be the face of their company, Air Jordans, which is where Air comes from.
That's right. And Michael Jordan wasn't an unknown per se, but he was
rookie.
He was definitely a rookie. He was nowhere near on the radar of the legends. Nowhere near that yet. And at the time of this film,
we got to get better at backing up and starting at the beginning with some of these stories so that people know what we're talking about.
Or they can just enjoy the journey of this conversation.
There you go. I like it too.
So, but at the time, Nike held, I think it said 17% of the basketball division of shoes. It was very low. Adidas was on top, and then Converse was second, and that the story of them going all in, because the budget they had was supposed to be over 3 to 4 players. And this one ambassador for Jordan, played by Matt Damon, was pushing for all the budget to go just towards him. And it's a remarkable story because the success of that shoe and that whole line of clothing, this was the catalyst for it. And it was also a game changer in terms of sports of athletes getting the money they deserve for their likeness on products. So in other words, this was the first shoe that was built around a player versus a player kind of coming in and embracing the culture of the shoe. That's a big part of the film, but some of that stuff is really great. And that same character, played by Matt Damon, also led the charge in 2014 for college players to get compensated for their likeness, which, by the way,
which feels like a no-brainer at this point, but
it does. You look back on it, it was revolutionary. So it changed not just Nike, it changed the way business was done with athletes and the money that they deserve for their likeness. And by the way, he just gets percentage of the shoe that sells. It's his mother, played by the great Viola Davis. She's amazing.
Wow.
She's amazing. And apparently Jordan told Affleck, I will greenlight this in terms of my support of this, but she's playing my mom, kind of thing. And so he's like, okay, no problem. And of course they already had a relationship with each other from the Suicide Squad and stuff like that. But she's amazing, man. The cast is it's really great. If you like films like Jerry Maguire, Moneyball, things like that, go see it. It's really good. I really enjoyed it. Yeah. Nice. So there you go. And that's all I can really say because we're still under a little bit of a whatever, but comes out in 5 days. All right. So next topic. Pirates. So the Mandalorian has dropped.
Oh, yes.
And I want to just give the floor to you, my friend.
Oh,
my friend and co-host. What do you think about this episode?
Oh my. It was fun. This was a lot of fun on this one. We are starting to see are we doing spoilers or no spoilers? What are we doing today?
Well, why don't we say spoilers for sure?
Let's say spoilers for sure. So spoiler warning. I try to be really good about warning people before I throw things out there. My goodness. This one was fun. So we did get the pirates in there. We get a nice showdown. Got some really interesting bit of homage. Did you catch this? When High Administrator Cargill, when he gave the land to the Mandalorians at the end, every bit of land in between the lava flats and he named something else. That is the name of the late actor who was in the original Mandalorian armor in the original trilogy.
Oh, wow.
So that was a nice little bit of homage, which is kind of cool. Something random for you today.
Nice.
Just one of those fun little pieces. Nice little. Okay, so you guys are paying attention, and we're having some fun with this.
And by the way, and that stuff is cool if you notice it, but it doesn't change anything if you don't. That's what I like about it.
And somebody pointed that out, like the definition, because we're getting into this too. The definition of a good cameo is one that if people know they look and go, ah, but it doesn't draw your attention. The definition of a bad cameo is where everything stops and you go, look at the person from the other thing, dopamine, yay. So we get a really good cameo in this one. We got Jeb from animated brain turning off. Rebels, thank you. We got Jeb pop in, and that voiced by the same actor, and that was a very nice shift to live action. So if he's here, is Hera
Syndulla. They're all there.
They're all there. They've been all there. They were in the background in Rogue One, including Chopper. So there's a piece where, like, are we gonna get to see some more of this? They're still around. That's fantastic. So
and he looks great, by the way.
He looks great. Yeah, we got the space whales in on the first episode. We've got him coming in, so they're increasing the references to that series, and I think we're going to start getting, especially with Ahsoka, we're going to start getting some real solid connections and pieces coming in. I am really a fan of where the show is going. We're starting to see seeds of what could turn into First Order.
I think we are seeing seeds that are turning into First Order.
Absolutely. We're already starting to see pieces coming in and talking about the genetic experimentations. Really interesting. So the previous episode, I didn't get to do a show last week. I apologize. Previous episode where they had the scientist basically brainwashed. The scientist that was working on Grogu and working on the genetic pieces, basically brainwashed. And there's a whole lot of what's happening here. And so I think, after doing some thinking about it, I think what was happening is the operative who was luring him into the Star Destroyer to collect pieces, I think she was wanting to see whether he was going to put his work down or whether he was willing to pick it up and use it for the benefit of the Republic. And I think when she saw that he was willing to use it for the benefit of the Republic, she scrubbed him.
Correct.
She got him scrubbed clean. That makes a lot of sense. But it definitely does show that there's a lot of stuff still happening in the background. And
correct. And it's a fascinating look at the Republic as it stands, the remnants of the Empire that are obviously going to be the transition of the First Order. And obviously there's a lot of references and things to cloning, which all of this will tie into the Emperor. Yeah. And so just like, here's the biggest compliment I can give the Lucasfilm under Disney thus far is that, and we like to say that, and I say this all the time, the people that are in charge of Lucasfilm largely are the people that George wanted to be there. Yeah. They're the creative minds behind it, and they're really the driving force. How much Disney interferes, I don't know, but I will say that I love all this content. Some is better than others, whatever. But what I love about this era of Star Wars is how it's filling in some gaps that maybe you didn't even realize needed to be filled in. Rogue One is that perfect example of making somehow A New Hope better. Right. Yeah. I think the Obi-Wan series made the prequels better. I think there's a lot of little things that are sort of there that are either tying things in from a prior to the incident happening, much like Rogue One, or in the case of like Obi-Wan, sort of retroactively. Yeah. But either way, filling that in. And so obviously there's a lot that we can fill in with the sequel trilogy because it gets a little convoluted between 8 and 9. I mean, I love those films, but they do. And so for them to come in and kind of make some things make sense, that for me as a fan is the coolest, because then when we're debating these things, oh, well, how did that happen? Well, if you watched, season 3 of The Mandalorian, they go into and they explain it. That's the beautiful thing about Star Wars is all these connected tissue. But what I really liked about this episode too was sort of a little bit of everything. It's tying a bunch of stuff in. That episode that you just referenced, a lot of fans had problems with. I loved it. I had a very
it was amazing.
So amazing. And there's a payoff for all of this. Yeah. Plus, we all loved Andor. And it's like the most Andor-esque thing since Andor. Anyway, that episode was great. Yeah. But all those, that whole thing between those two and the Good Doctor, all that is paying off right now. And we're sort of seeing how this all unfolds. And
there's also a piece in there which is interesting. I hadn't caught it originally, but they've been throwing bit by bit in there, is that the New Republic is demilitarizing. So they're not only going in and dismantling and scrubbing all of the old Empire fleets, they're going in and dismantling the Rebel fleets as well. The fact that you've got the X-Wing fighters are not stationed in a destroyer. They're not stationed in a military outpost. They're stationed on a little scrub outpost with a cantina and with the whole thing looks low budget and janky. They're demilitarizing.
Yeah.
They don't have the ability. They're pointing out that Navarro is mid-rim, not outer rim. So if they're already losing control of mid-rim planets, the outer rim is completely out of their control. And in some of the extended books, one of the things that they start playing with storyline-wise is the fact that the people on Coruscant that started actually funneling resources over to the creation of the First Order were doing it via the criminal organizations and pirates and everything else in the Outer Rim, is how a lot of that was being created. Because that's been one of my questions, is like, where did this fleet of Star Destroyers with Death Star lasers pop up? You can't just suddenly have a huge fleet. There's got to be a whole story there. And they didn't lay that out in the movies, but they're starting to lay out the groundwork for where all of that came from. And I am loving the homework. I'm loving it.
No, it's just a big love letter to Star Wars anyway. And this has a great cliffhanger, and looking forward to next week. And this episode to me was action packed. It had a lot of heart. I like how Grogu is not so much front and center, to not overuse him and to put him in the background a little bit so he doesn't wear out his welcome. We don't want to be ignorant of his expiration date.
Yeah,
he's too valuable of a character, and I think they know that, and I think they understand the risk of overexposure with something that's cute, because that can can wear out pretty quickly. So I think they're handling that very smartly. I'm very excited for the rest of the season. I'm excited for next week, which is the whole purpose of a good episode when you talk about episodic things. Yeah. It's to me, this was A+ episode.
Now, there's another interesting part I want to throw in here, and this is we've been watching it develop, and I do like that it's going a different direction than I was originally expecting. So when we especially got the first couple episodes of this season, I was predicting that we might get Mando, Din Djarin, actually picking up the reins of the Mandalorians and moving forward. And the way they're going with it is they're bringing Bo-Katan in. Really interesting how they're doing it, because she very definitely has been pulled into a cult. So that is a cult, and the cult leader is the armorer. And it is really interesting watching the way that works, because she has been among them, but not of them. And has very definitely, she has not taken the helmet off because she kind of wanted to see what this brought her. Very selfish. She's seeing an army being developed. She's seeing them training an army. And I can totally understand her not taking the helmet off, because there is a level of, can I use this? It is now turned around to, she is going to use them, and the armorer is going to use her to recruit. There's an entire cult thing going on here all of a sudden. So this goes from the Mandalorians as a people and as a society being brought up to, it is now going to be very potentially a realm of religious fanatics, or borderline religious fanatics. So very curious where they're going with this. And how does that play into the creation of the First Order? Because that is where things are going.
I don't know. And did some Mandalorians take Gideon? What's that cliffhanger all about?
I forgot about that.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So where, there's some lore to that somewhere that I'm just not privy to.
Well, there's some lore to that somewhere, but also there's a piece in there where I raised an eyebrow and went, hold on a minute. We have seen the Mandalorian armor take a massive amount of damage. What do you mean there's a chunk of Beskar in the wall?
Yeah.
What do you mean? That's like saying there's a chunk of Captain America's shield in the wall.
Yeah.
After a basic, simple firefight where there's no Mandalorians left behind, I'm thinking framed. I'm thinking that's a setup. I don't think one of the Mandalorians lost a chunk of Beskar armor. Really? That's basically vibranium in this universe.
Interesting.
Okay,
I like it.
I was raising an eyebrow going, they don't lose chunks of armor like that. It may fall off like the pauldron did of Bo-Katan's armor, but you don't just lose chunks embedded in the wall. I'm curious. I want to know.
My wheels are spinning on that one a little bit.
Fair enough.
There's so much going on, and that's
Yeah.
the beautiful thing about this. And it is
And none of it's accidental.
no, this is all
Yeah, I'm a
it's
fan.
all
Okay.
meticulous. Is that the right
Yeah.
word? Intentional, 100%.
So okay,
So-
okay. I'm coming full circle here because if anybody who watched some of the old podcasts that we did, you know that I am not a giant fan of J.J. Abrams. I don't like that he has a habit of throwing things up on screen that are interesting, shiny, and makes you go, "Whoa, what was that?" And he goes, "Nope, none for you," and then walks on. And then you come to find out later, he literally just thought it would be neat to show that thing and make people wonder.
Okay.
Cough, smoke monster cough. He's been doing that since Lost. He's been doing that where he just randomly throws things up on the screen, but there's not actually a backstory behind it. I am loving the storytelling we're seeing right now because there are literally everything thrown up on that screen is deliberate. It is chosen, and there is a story for again, good cameos for the people that know. You're going to recognize that in that bar where the X-wing pilot was seeing the comm transmission, we saw Jeb hung over the bar. Is you've got all these different helmets of stormtroopers, as well as a helmet of the head of a probe droid, as well as some different pieces up there. So it's for the people that are looking, for the people that know, there are pieces that are there, but none of it is just because wouldn't it be neat to have this up on screen?
And I'm not going to go down a rabbit hole defending J.J. Abrams with you, but I'll say this.
But I'm appreciating this.
This is coming from somebody who unapologetically loves The Last Jedi as a standalone Star Wars movie. It's beautiful. It is one of my favorites. Is it the best film for that trilogy? Looking back on it, probably not. And the reason that it's not, and I'm glad that it exists, so I have to reconcile this thing in my head, is that perhaps the path they should have just gone down is JJ just probably should have done all three, and just had a single director's vision for it, and maybe that would have been better for the trilogy as a whole. And this is also somebody, by the way, that really does like Episode 9 also. So I like the trilogy. Yep. But I'm just saying, and to your criticism, to be fair, some of this stuff he may have addressed in Episode 8, and Rian Johnson said, "Nah, I don't have to go there." There's still,
there is an issue when you start a trilogy with one director, you have another director kick in, and then the other director comes in and goes, "No, I'm going to delete half of what you just did," because when you get two directors that are basically at odds, but they're directing a trilogy together, yeah, that's a problem.
Well, and it's not just the director; it's also it's different writers,
it wasn't a coherent, the way we're seeing right now, all of these different properties are being tied in together beautifully. Right. That wasn't happening.
No,
with that trilogy. And I feel like it was an injustice. It should have happened.
Yeah, and that's just it. Again, this is what I try to reconcile with this, because I actually really do love the trilogy at the same time, but I understand the problems that it does have. Now, once again, this show and other shows can retroactively make those movies better, right? Mm-hmm. That's kind of the whole point. So anyway, so we both like this episode a lot. We're excited for episode 6. Mm-hmm. The season's great. There's so many great things coming on the horizon with live action Star Wars, just that alone with Ahsoka and everything else, and hopefully we'll get something back in the cinema at some point as well. Okay, so let's shift gears here a little bit here for the last segment of the show. So Courtney a while back came up with a great idea in terms of having sort of a top 5 pop culture countdown, and
I like it. It's some really good conversation topics. What you got?
Yeah, 100%. And I just kind of want to, just for time purposes, we'll throw Air in there, because I think it is a pop culture moment, because the film hasn't been released yet, and they're making their rounds. They being Affleck and Matt Damon and Tucker and whatnot, the cast. And I think that it's a film about a cultural icon, which is Jordan, and then a fashion icon, which is his line of clothing. So we'll count that. So the other thing I want to discuss, let's do like 4 other things here. And forgive me, I'm referencing my notes here on my notes on my iPhone. So I want to talk a little bit about Creed 3, Jonathan Major stuff. So
yeah,
I'll just say this up front. I really liked Creed 3 a lot. I did not like it as much as the other 2, and I know it's not me just being a Stallone defender or apologist,
because you were a fan of number 2, like huge.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the whole franchise, and I'm still a fan of this movie. And the biggest compliment I can give it is the fact that it stood on its own without Stallone, and that's a big accomplishment.
Mhm.
The biggest criticism I can give it is that Rocky's presence wasn't in the film, and I don't mean physically. I mean like he wasn't freaking there, and the subtle references with the mirror and he said something right before the last fight where it was a little Rocky-esque. That's a little too ambiguous. Like the integral role that he
You're talking
played.
about his spirit, his like the actual soul, the vibe of him.
Yeah, like the only
Okay.
time he's referenced at all is just
Yeah.
when they're talking about his dad giving Rocky a shot. So that a bit for how what a pertinent role he played in his success, and he's just not even referenced. It's
Okay.
just it's a little on the nose. Like he's not referenced probably because out of respect for Stallone that doesn't want anything to do with it. I don't know. I can't get my head wrapped around it.
Right.
But there was something missing about the film with that, and but I still really liked it a lot, and I really liked Jonathan Majors a lot.
Okay.
I don't want to get too in the weeds on something about illegal and a potential a victim of abuse, which is
Well, we got to talk about it a little bit because
a little bit, yeah,
Marvel is going to be having to deal with an entire thing.
Yes, and it sure sounds like it was probably a combination of drugs and alcohol and partying and then I don't know, some text messages with a girlfriend. What have you looked into this?
Okay, so real quick for those that don't know anything about this, this is something that hit Marvel here in the last. I say hit Marvel. This is something that happened between two people in the last week. We know the name of one of them, so we care. It's something happened with a celebrity. So basically, Jonathan Majors, the police were called on a fight between him and his girlfriend, and it is standard. And they have been very clear to mention this. The reason he was arrested is when police are called, basically on domestic abuse or domestic violence, they arrest both parties. They just do. So his publicist has been very clear on that. His publicist has been very clear that he hasn't done anything wrong, but that is his publicist's job is to say that. Right. So the girlfriend, has injuries around the head. She's got strangulation marks. All signs point to he attacked and hurt her. As things are coming out, so the first vibe of this is okay. So he attacked and assaulted his girlfriend. That is the first signs that come out. As things are moving, there are now text messages where she has been sending to him. Please know I am pressuring them not to press charges. She is basically accepting blame for the whole thing, which is funny because that also sounds like something that an abused person says. It's my fault for trying to reach for his phone. That's also sounds like something an abused. Like there's a whole line here of what is actually going on. We won't know. We won't know for a while. She's accepting a whole lot of the blame over the text messages and is trying to apparently pressure them to not do anything. Jonathan Majors is the one that called the police. So there's an entire, we won't know, but it is, I'm saying it's sticky situation for Marvel. So yes, that is a horrible thing. If he's assaulting his girlfriend, that's horrible. That is not acceptable. I'm on a bigger picture, different picture, is what that means for Marvel. I'm imagining the people at Marvel right now scrambling. I am imagining them right now trying to figure out what do we have to do. If this is real, if this is accurate, then do they move forward? Because he is the center of everything that's coming up next with Marvel. Do we do that?
Well, I think the decision for that is what is the outcome. Like the Army ads that were pulled and their press statement, which I don't have it in front of me, but I'll paraphrase. Are basically like you're innocent until proven guilty, but out of prudence because of the nature of this thing, we're gonna pull these ads until we find out, and that's smart. Yeah. And listen, he's a local guy for us. Like he's he's grew up in the Dallas area, South Dallas, DeSoto or Duncanville, one of those South Dallas D suburbs. Yeah, they're neighbors. They're right next to one another. He worked at Brahms. He's like a local boy. Yeah, he worked at Brahms. He talked about that on Jimmy Kimmel. I love the fact that 3% of the people watching Jimmy Kimmel know what Brahms is. I mean, here in Houston, people here in Houston don't even know what Brahms is. Yeah. It's very North Texas. Yeah. But I'm a big fan of his work. The most important thing is to make sure that there's not a victim of violence. And if there is, then that's addressed and hopefully there's justice for her. Yeah. As a fan of him, of his work, I hope that he's not troubled. I hope that this can be resolved. And, as a fan of these franchises, I hope that he can survive this, assuming that would just mean that everything's okay with the charges. But look, DC's got this thing on their hands with Ezra Miller, although that's died off a lot.
Yeah.
But it'll still be interesting to see what they do with him on the Flash little tour that's coming up, the press tour. So there's ways around the stuff, but they have a choice now of what to do with him. And so it remains to be seen. And that's just,
and the bottom line is you don't, that's where the whole the piece is, because Disney especially is very, very, very careful with their image, and they do not want to be seen associating with people that break that image. It's why Cara Dune is not coming back, and that's a whole other topic. But she stepped outside of the realm of what Disney and Marvel and Star Wars wanted to be a part of.
Correct.
So, and that, like, again, that's an entirely different topic, but she stepped outside of their desired image. So the bottom line is on a political business side of things. If this is real, if this is actually happening, then Disney and Marvel will have to figure out what they're going to do, because they absolutely will not be publicly associated. I'm hoping against hope that the one thing they don't do is try to bury it or try to buy her out or try to one of those kind of things. Because if that happens and that comes out, that will be so much worse. Also, it will also mean no justice for the woman who's been assaulted. And that's like, no, let's address that first. Number one, you don't reward people that abuse other people.
Correct.
So there's an entire what's going to happen next, and we'll stay tuned. And if anything interesting happens, we're all going to hear about it. But we'll certainly address it on here. But there is no hard information. There's just new pieces coming out.
Well, let's just hope for everybody's sake that that she's okay and that this can be resolved.
Yeah, and
then something like this doesn't happen again. All right. So moving on from that. So one of the things that when the three of us, me, you, and Courtney, were doing this site and this show and everything, we had all discussed, like, one thing from my former outlet that I always admired was we don't release unreleased set photos that are not sanctioned by the studio.
Right.
Spy cam stuff, we just stay away from it. Just out of respect for the process, the filmmakers, the studio, everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with that said, there are some set leaks of Joker Faledu, and there has we have seen unofficially Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn.
We've got the first set photos of Harley Quinn. Yes.
Now here's what I always propose in these situations. Okay, Warner Brothers, release an official photo.
Put something out.
Because that's the only way to squash this. Put out an official photo of the two of them, and then it's done. And then these set pics, they don't mean anything anymore. That's how you get rid of them.
The funny thing is, I half assume that it, especially with DC and Marvel being as tight as they are, I'm assuming that if something gets leaked, it's deliberate.
Well, no, I don't know.
Okay.
No, I don't. I mean, I guess it's possible. Sometimes that does happen. Maybe I don't know. I'll just say that there's just a lot of. We're living in a world with smartphones.
Yeah.
And it's just a different world. So you get one rogue person on set. That's all it takes.
And NDAs only cover so much, but I'm assuming everybody that's within range is probably signed a crazy NDA.
I mean, it is what it is. So what I'll say is, and we're not going to show the picture or whatever, or direct you where they're at, but she does look cool.
Yeah.
She does look cool.
Yeah.
I like the look. I'm not going to lie. Right. I would like to see an official photo to really try to capture what they're going for, but just based on what I've seen.
Yeah.
So here's a good segue. So for the next little quick topic is Batman 2.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Reeves starts filming in November, I believe, is correct, which is amazing. And there was a little thing from Deadline suggesting that Clayface was going to be in Matt Reeves' Batman film. Now, here's what I'll say to that. If you read the article or read the release, it sounds a lot more like this is an idea being pitched for James Gunn's extended universe, that version of Batman, which is going to be more fantastical and great. Bring it on. In terms of a grounded crime drama, he's not going to have a Clayface that's molding into different. I mean, we're not gonna have a 9-foot Bane. We're not going to have a perma white Joker. There's things that we're not going to have that are from the fantastical side of things, very much like the Nolan trilogy. But you could most definitely do Clayface, especially if you go back to the origins of the character. There's a variety of different incarnations of him, but he wasn't always some shapeshifter.
Yeah,
Right?
he didn't originally look like Sandman.
No,
He was just somebody who knew disguises.
right. So you could do that, and it's going to work. Which if Clayface is in Matt Reeves' Batman, then that's exactly what we're going to get. Just like he could do Mr. Freeze. It's not going to be the Mr. Freeze that the mainstream audience thinks of. There's ways to do these characters.
Yeah, we're not doing a Schwarzenegger.
No, and that's the beautiful thing. But let James Gunn do that. That's the beautiful thing about these coexisting franchises, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Just having the Batman, the Matt Reeves, and having James Gunn Batman. And then obviously what we have coming up with the Flash with Affleck and Keaton. Like, it's just such a great time to be a Batman fan. But anyway, so that's kind of how I understand it. So it doesn't sound like that he's going to be in Batman 2, nothing official, more of a pitch to Gunn. But even if he is, it's not going to be a shapeshifter. And speaking of James Gunn, one other thing I had listed here was Superman Legacy. Very excited about this project. It's going to be
He doesn't make that noise when he flies, though.
He's got to make this work. This film has to work.
Yeah.
Superman has to work.
Yes.
And Superman hasn't really hit on all cylinders with box office, with audience, and critics since Superman 2.
Oh,
I mean,
so
really,
we're going back to Christopher Reeves. Okay.
I know what I mean by that is Superman 3 and 4 were not well received.
No.
Superman Returns was a misfire. Man of Steel was a misfire, despite me personally loving it. So this has got to work, and we don't know who he's going to cast. We don't know where this is going. My guess is he's claiming that he doesn't have an actor in mind yet. I call bullshit on that. I'm sure he probably does, but regardless, I know that he's looking at sides and putting together things for auditions.
Yeah,
but I'm sure he's got some people in mind, obviously. Okay. But there's a lot of fun fan casting going around. I was in the middle of a debate on Twitter the other day about Austin Butler, and I was like, great actor in terms of the Elvis movie. I don't know anything about that guy outside of Elvis. To me, he does a great Elvis impression. So I don't know if I want him as Superman, but hey, I'm up for it. Whatever. Yeah. But it's going to be fun, man. I mean, I'm excited. You got any thoughts on Superman Legacy and James Gunn?
Superman's an interestingly delicate character. If they manage to get it right, it's going to be absolutely amazing. But it is a delicate balance, because we are past the era where we like heroes that are just heroes because they're heroes. That was a thing back in the day where it's simple motivation. We've got to have motivation. Same with the bad guys. We've got to have motivation. So it's having somebody who is basically all powerful and just good, just to be good. We want to see a choice. We want to see some character development. We want to see some different pieces in there. And Superman is difficult because he is old school, golden era, legacy. He is super powerful and good because he's good.
Right.
And so there's a really interesting, how are they going to do that with the needs of modern audiences?
Well, I don't know. And Snyder struggled with that himself, and there were some things about his Superman that really worked, especially in Man of Steel. I think he lost his way with Batman versus Superman. That's my opinion. Obviously, the opinion of a lot of moviegoers as well. Yeah. But to kind of tie this into just another quick topic here is I saw Shazam, and I loved it. I thought it was way better than the first one.
So you haven't seen number 2 yet? Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And when Courtney texted us that she thought it was one of the best DC films, I don't necessarily agree with that, or maybe I'm paraphrasing. Maybe she said maybe she was saying in recent years. So I don't want to misquote our co-host. But at the same time, I understand where she's coming from.
No, you can go ahead and misquote her. According to Courtney, she thinks all Batman movies suck. She only likes Shazam 2, and
and she really hates everything.
That's straight from the mouth of Courtney. We're going to go ahead and misquote her right now and just have that out there. Call that. Wish you were here.
Wish you were here, friend. Sorry.
Go ahead and just do it. Just dive in.
But no, I really like Shazam. It's unfortunate. It's probably not going to get a sequel. I mean, it's a complete flop. And then who knows where this is all going in terms of the continuity and everything. So let's just kind of hold on to our hats and see what happens. We've got Aquaman. I will say this, because this is not a spoiler, because it's in the damn trailers. The way that they made Gal Gadot work in Shazam: Fury of the Gods was really cool. They handled that really well.
I didn't know she was in it, so I didn't know that was in the trailers. Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's in the trailers. Like she's
okay.
So I'm not spoiling anything.
Okay.
But it works. It really
now
works.
I gotta go see it. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I'm just hoping that's not time to see her either. I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll see. We'll see. But at the end of the day, what we want is good content.
Yes.
The behind the scenes drama of studios and all this stuff is ruining franchises. It's ruining movies for us. At the end of the day, just if James Gunn puts out an awesome Wonder Woman movie in 3 years, and it's rebooted and it's great, we'll always still have the Gal Gadot stuff that we can always watch and enjoy. All that will matter is that it's good stuff. All right, man. Any
I got two things for you. Okay. One, Guardians 3 is coming up.
James Gunn.
Yes, Guardians 3 is coming up, and I finally get to know this. A friend of mine was in the last Suicide Squad movie, and she got some really nice screen time.
Okay. We have a mutual friend that was in that too. He was killed.
We have two friends that were in it. Yes. But so Giovanni Cruz. Dropping her name on here. She's an amazing actress based out of Dallas here, and she is one of the hardest working people in the industry that I know, and it's really nice to see her doing amazing things. So she was in Suicide Squad, then she was brought back in. She was in the Guardians Christmas special, the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special, and she is able to say that she is in Guardians 3, and that's coming up soon. And that is, I know somebody who's in Marvel, and I'm loving that. Congrats to her. And I can't wait to go drop in and try to spot her up on screen. That's going to be amazing.
I love it. I don't know her personally, but congratulations to her. And I hope.
That's fantastic. I dig it.
Well, and what about you? You're going to be back. You're going to be back on Tulsa King. What are you up to?
I probably won't be back on Tulsa King. I don't know what all will be coming up next. Working on a sci-fi short film. I've got a friend of mine that does a lot of computer graphics and animation, and I get to do one a couple of years ago with him where I'm playing a fighter pilot and getting to assault a temple on an alien planet, and he goes in and does all the graphics in the post. So we've got a part 2 of that coming up, so hopefully I'll get to be back on green screen flying my fighter again. That'd be amazing. But I'll tell you what, I finally sat down in the last week and started watching Last of Us.
Okay.
Have you?
No, it's not been on my radar.
Good. Put it on your radar. Yeah, it is beautifully done. I'm kind of over the zombie apocalypse thing, but I've heard so many good things from so many people that I finally sat down and tuned in. And this is Pedro Pascal. I'm spacing her name, but she was the young lord that stabbed the zombie giant, the White Walker giant in Game of Thrones. So she and Pedro Pascal, I've been watching some of the not behind the scenes, but the interviews of the two of them, and their chemistry is amazing. So I finally sat down to watch a few episodes, and this is good. If this is not on your radar, it needs to be. The writing is excellent. The performances are all absolutely top notch. And for those of you that have seen it, I'm not going to give anything away if you haven't. For those of you that have seen it, 4 episodes in, there is an episode that needs to sweep the awards. It is a standalone, and the episodes are long. They're like almost an hour and a half. This would be a standalone story in and of itself. This would be a standalone movie. The casting, the writing, the performances are delicate. It's like it is so perfectly done, and it's not one of those things that would have been easily perfectly done. This is something that was so perfectly balanced that I like all the emotions got handed to me. And I was watching it in the morning. I woke up early and decided to sit down and watch this episode. 9:30 in the morning. I've already had my emotions handed to me. No, absolutely worth watching. And it was
Last of Us.
Yeah. The Last of Us. Check it out.
And I know, and I've heard nothing but amazing things about it, and I know that the work in it is phenomenal. So
3 episodes in, and you will absolutely understand what I'm on about and what everybody else is on about. I am a fan.
All right, I love it. So we're gonna do some plugs here, but I will say this: on Monday night, I'm going to Friends from Work's second screening, and I'm going to go see Paint with Owen Wilson. To watch him play.
Would love to see that. That sounds
So
fantastic.
let's put a little flower right here, a little bush, and right here you got the nice
Yeah.
sunset. Man, I can't wait. And
And
it
he's
looks
the
like
perfect person for that.
oh my God, he's just eccentric and weird enough. And I've got
Yeah.
a funny story about when I met him one time, and I'll do a reactionary video to the film, and I'll share it there. But anyway, all right, let's do some plugs and let's get out of
Love
here,
it.
my friend. So where
Cool.
can people find? First of all, to find us, go to Friends Work Pod. That is going to be our Twitter handle. Find us on YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, where
Are
you
there any
download great
periods or
podcasts.
punctuation or anything in there?
So yeah, so it's for what?
For when you're writing it out, is there anything we got to throw in there?
Oh no, just Friends Work at Friends Work Pod, and then
Okay.
we're all over the internet. Find me on Twitter at Shewrick, SHEWRICK. And Brian, what about you,
Love it.
sir?
I am. I'm on Twitter. I don't know what my Twitter is because I don't post there much. Come find me on Instagram. I am at Chatlin Photo. I am your friendly neighborhood photographer. Come say hi.
Come say hi to Brian. And on behalf of Rick Shue and Brian Chatlin and Courtney Cheek, we thank you
And
for
Courtney
watching.
Cheek, who absolutely hates Batman movies.
And thank you for listening. We're the Friends from Work. We'll see you next week, and we'll chat then. Thank you.
Get down.